discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, this video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering you a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. All you need to do is go to audibletrial.com/BGUnlocked. The link is in the description below, and now enjoy the video. Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Edge of Darkness and the solo variant. So, quick caveat, I have done a run-through for Edge of Darkness. So if you want to know what we think of the actual game and everything about that, go check out that run-through and that discussion. In this one, I'm only going to be talking about what I think of the solo variant. With that being said, this solo variant is weird because you're playing a deck building game, a shared deck building game, and a shared card crafting game by yourself, so you're essentially controlling a person, and the way that they're controlled is through kind of this AI deck. And it doesn't really tell them what to do, it tells them how to kind of craft their cards. So the game does its best at trying to formulate a strategy, because what you do in the actual game is obviously your card crafting, trying to come up with strategies based on the locations that are out on the board. Well, the AI doesn't necessarily do that. It just kind of, okay, well this card says to start at this location, and that's the advancement they're going to take. And then you just hope that the cards that they draft pertain to any semblance of a strategy. And there were multiple times where, because what also they never do what the cards are meant to be. Like, so for example, in a Advisor to the Chancellor, this is a very simple one. All it is you place two people on the Capitol Hall location. If the AI, if the Voiceless Guild, by the way, I actually kind of like the theme around that guild, I think that's really cool, but if the Voiceless Guild drafts that card, they won't ever place two people onto that location. What they do is they're at the whim of a 7-card deck, and how those cards are implemented is by, okay, well, it's not what the location says, it's not what the card's about, it's with the icon of that location. So in that case, the Capitol Hall, you look for that symbol. And it's like, okay, well, they'll put a person there. So it's like, okay, well, so they just place, they'll only ever place one person. Now, granted, you could, this deck does have a different sense of difficulty. So on the other side, it says up to 2 people, and then they pull one person, and then they do things for essentially for free. But if you're playing on a medium to easy difficulty, they'll only place one. So the beauty of Edge of Darkness is the variety with each location's ability or each location's card. So you're kind of missing half the game, in my opinion. Like, because you as a player, you're doing everything. You're like drafting that, like what I do, is doing the Advisor to the Chancellor. Then you're pulling them off to pay the 5 coins to sleeve an advancement. You're trying to push people onto the Guildmark University to make it cheaper, to train more people. You're doing all that, but the AI is not. The AI is just kind of going, oh, okay, well, that location, like, they will never do the Grand Library to pay coins to get a bunch of reputation. They won't do that. All that symbol is the 3 dots, so they just get an influence. So it's not bad. Like, actually, one of the things that I really like about it is it's very simple. A lot of solo variants can be, there's a couple ways I look at solo variants. It can either be extremely difficult because for a variety of reasons. One, which is one of the worst ways I don't like solo variants, that you have to you as a player have to like work so hard. You have to manage your resources. You have to manage your workers. You have to do all this stuff. You have to fight. You have to do everything. And the AI is just like, I have unlimited resources. I can go anywhere on the board. I basically win. So that's one way it can be very difficult. And the other way is if there's like a bunch of stuff that you have to keep track of. Like, Gloomhaven's a perfect example of playing that game solo. You control two people. Essentially, you're controlling two tabletop RPG characters, trying to figure out and all the enemies and the locations and all this. So there's a lot to keep track of for a solo player. But with this, it's very simple. Like literally, there's two types of cards. There's the A's and B's, or two, and so you shuffle. You pull 6 B's and then you pull 4 A's. And then the first 3 A's are literally for the prologue anyway. And then the rest is just like, oh, okay, well. Now, the only thing I don't like is the way these are laid out. Because in the layout of the game, because these 5 sides are supposed to correspond to the locations, but it has the board art, so then you lay that like that, but then it's like, well, where the hell, that doesn't even correspond, so then you lay it like this, and it's like, wait, so is that's how I was doing it. How I was facing it is kind of where the board was at in relation to where I was, so this icon down here was this one down here, so that's how I did it. But anyway, like, so there's more of these cards that don't get played, so you shuffle a deck of maybe 10, pull 6 out, for the B's, and then shuffle 10 and pull 4 out for the A's. That's very simple. These will never change. So I will say I did like that. Even though you're missing like the meat of the game for the Voiceless Guild, because they're not doing any of the cards, they're just sleeving cards. It is very nice to this was very simple to learn. To just be like, oh, okay, the 3 dots, influence. Or, okay, well, the Deep Hollow one, the one with the sword, yeah, they're just going to place a person there. And they'll just keep placing people there till they go on a hunt, and they'll pull them all off, and then they'll get a bunch of strength. Every now and then I was like, well, how is this going to work? With the Guildmark University, that's a perfect example, where I was like, wait, so do they have to use their coins to make them cheaper? But it's like, no. A, they'll put someone on there. B, they'll pull them off and train someone. It's a very, very simple solo variant. Essentially, with their influence and stuff, with all this stuff, they just collect it. Very rarely did I find them ever having to skip around, and that's just because that could be just the way that the cards were coming out. They never had to go to the end of the street and drop a bunch of influence to get to their card. It was always just kind of right there. It wasn't until towards the end of the game where I started getting more advancements that they try to avoid. Their money, they'll never have to pay for stuff. Their money's only to use your cards if they happen to have it. I do like that. One thing I do like is, well, I guess I don't really like it now that I think about it, is in a AI player, and it's hard to do. Like, I will say I think AEG did the best with what they could do with this type of game, because you as a player are not going to sit here and essentially play as 2 different people. Like, the AI has to do something. So, for example, there was never really a time that if they had my card that they would use a dispatcher if they were going to get another one of my cards. But it's like, well, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's like, oh, well, they don't do the dispatcher. They just do the city streets location. That's probably why they went this route instead of using the cards. Because it's like, well, no, they wouldn't do this to just draw a card of my own, because then I would just be funneling coins to myself. There were multiple times where it was like, okay, so they're going to place people on the war council just to go fight, but they can't fight anything, so they wouldn't do that. It's just weird. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's boring either, mainly because I like this game so much that it's like, oh, I'm doing all my stuff. But there was never a time where the AI player did, like, a badass move. Like, it was like, oh man, they're gonna do this and this and this and this. It was like, oh, yep, okay, they got more influence. Oh, they got more coins. Oh, they killed that thing. And that was it. If you were to basically kind of just half-ass pay attention to this game, you get a very surface level depth and strategy from the AI player. What makes this game fantastic is all the amount of combos that you get with the 10 locations, and like there were multiple times on my turn where I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get a dispatcher to draw this, and then that's gonna give me this, and then I'll get this advancement that's gonna give me strength. Then I'm gonna put 2 people there. I'm gonna use this labor exchange handler to put a untrained worker over there. Then I'm gonna pull them off to get the combat. Then I'm gonna do this. Oh man, I got 9 strength from all that. That's what makes Edge of Darkness fantastic. The AI player will never do that because it's literally around these 7 cards. So I don't think the solo variant is bad. I just don't think it's very interesting. Because you play it as a 2-player game. Like I don't know. Like you're playing a 2-player game where you dumb down the rules for the 2nd player. It's like, no, don't hit. Like, it's basically like, you know how there's some games where they say, like, there's like a location ability. It's like, for your first few games, ignore those. And it's like, okay, and you feel like you're missing out. That's like if you were to play with a 10-year-old and you were like, no, don't worry about what the cards say. Don't worry about just, you do those and I'll just give you stuff. That's what playing the solo variant feels like. I mean, other than that, like, it's funny because you're probably thinking, wow, you idiot, you barely beat the AI player. Well, yeah, I mean, here's one thing I will give it. There have been solo variants that I've done for the channel, or no run through reviews that I've done on solo variants for the channel, where I hated playing against it because it was just like, wow, they just keep getting stuff. And that's what this does. Because they are getting influence, and they are getting goodwill, and they are getting money left and right all the time. They occasionally will go on a hunt and actually successfully beat something, which was surprising. Granted, there were times where it's like, well, they wouldn't ever really go for that, because like that wouldn't make any sense. In fact, if it actually went for the correct one, at the very end of the game, there was one that it could have killed, but because the trade didn't have the most of their cubes, by the rule, it had to go for another one. And if it had gone for the one that it strategically and logically would have gone for, it actually would have won. And that's that's kind of what I'm saying for this game. So, or for the solo variant. So whenever it came down to it, they were just making very, very simple calculations. But what I was saying is, yeah, I won 61 3/4 to 61 1/4, which is hilarious. Because I never thought a game like this would ever come down to that. So you might be thinking, okay, well, like then it must be doing something right. I'm not saying it's a bad variant. I'm just saying that the most points that they got off of their defense, because they always just happened to, the way the cards came out, they always went Watchtower, which is actually pretty smart. I never did that. I literally never went defense. I just was always trying to be on the offensive and kill things before they can kill me. So they got the most points out of that. They then got the most points, surprise, surprise, off of their resources, their influence, goodwill, and money. They got 10 points to my 5 off of that. And then because they can just freely train, they never have to pay coins, they got the most points. They got 8 points because they got almost all their trainers out, their agents, and they got the end game score after that. So all the stuff they get to do for free, so that's why it was 61 to 61 essentially. And then you must be like, well, you suck. No, it's because they get to do a bunch of stuff for free, and I have to pay. They could have done advancements for free. Never have to pay the 5 coins to do that. They just, hey, there's someone there, great, I do that. But here's where I'm getting to the praise of this. I never felt it was unfair. Like, this entire game, I actually thought I was kicking its ass, because I'm just like, man, I'm getting all these awesome moves, I'm doing all this, and the game was actually very close. So that's a really good That's a really good sign for a solo variant, because I never felt like it was unfair. They were just getting all this free. Oh, every single time they draw as a neutral card, they get an advancement. Oh, every time they just get to pull their a free agent and go wherever they want. I never felt like that, which is good. So I mean, is it the variant that I would play again? Probably not, because I think this game works very, very well as a two-player game, and that's essentially what this is. And then you get the other player using the cards, and then you have to actually make some decisions that an AI doesn't really give you. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rate this solo variant? I think I'm going to give it a 5. I was going to say 6, but then with my rating, 5 is average, so 6 would mean it's a little bit above average, and I don't think it is. I think this is a very average solo variant. It does things well. It doesn't do anything bad. Here's the thing. It doesn't do anything bad, but it doesn't do anything particularly good either. Like, it wasn't boring, but it wasn't fun either. It was. I would say it was balanced. But that could also have just been the way the locations came out. Like, the way the AI player could swing wildly depending on where the locations are at, because it does go in a clockwise or counterclockwise motion. So these could have been shuffled up and played, and it could have went a different route. And you could see that. So I will say the AI player could give you some variety in how it plays, even if you're stuck with the same 10. But that's just kind of Edge of Darkness anyway. So yeah, I think a 5 is a very good rating, in my opinion, for the solo variant. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think of Edge of Darkness, the solo variant, in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this, and if you like this video, then click the subscribe button below to enjoy any video that I put out. And right next to that subscribe button is a little bell. Click that so you get notified of whenever I actually upload these videos. If you want to support the channel, you can definitely visit my Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.